Hey there, this is Jay from Filmstrip dropping in to let you know you're about to hear a classic episode from our archives. Some of these shows were produced before we called the show Filmstrip Podcast, before we used popcorn ratings, had the standard intro song from Frozen Lake 121, or really even knew what we were doing recording and editing the show. However, there's a lot of fun in them, and we hope you enjoy. Just wanted to let you know in case you noticed the differences. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Continuous Play's Harry Potter series retrospective. We will be reviewing each of the Harry Potter films this fall up until the release of the first part of the series finale, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. These reviews will be spoiler-filled, so if you haven't seen the movies, watch them before listening to our podcast. Continuous Play Podcast is not affiliated with Heyday Films, 1492 Pictures, Duncan Henderson Productions, or Warner Brothers Pictures, and any discussion of these films, the characters, music, or parties involved is done so for entertainment purposes only, and no infringement is intended. Now, Anna and Jay, raise your wands and let's get to the podcast.
Welcome to Filmstrip's Harry Potter retrospective series. I'm Jay.
I'm Anna.
And we're here to talk about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, released in November of 2010 on a budget of $250 million. That should be noted that's shared between Part 1 and Part 2. This one made $295 million stateside and $955 worldwide. Anna, this was 2.5 hours long, and they decided to take the last book, split it into two pieces, and a question we'll have to answer is, was that worth it? Was it necessary? But before we get into that, I guess we got to talk about the Deathly Hallows Part 1 as a film.
Okay, we'll do that.
So, well, just, right out of the gate, I think it's worth noting before we get to a plot summary or whatever, this is a really different... This film has a totally different feel to it. Like almost from the moment it opens, you can tell this is going to be a much darker, much more serious film. And I think they've been trending that way for a while because the audience has grown up with Harry Potter and they're older now and they're starting to deal with more mature issues. But they really ratcheted it up quick in this one, I think.
Well, I think also the formula is gone, and you'll see that in our plot summary because we've every movie up till then, except there's some variations, like he's at the Dursleys and then he's at Hogwarts. Somehow he gets to Hogwarts and then all this stuff happens at Hogwarts and blah 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 blah. And this one is different. This one's different. It's a different set. It's a different feel. It's a different theme. Everything's different, and it is breaking away from everything we've seen for the last 6 movies.
I think you're right. I think it's a very different thing. Why don't you go ahead and give us a plot summary, and then we'll start working through the movie like we have.
Okay. Voldemort complains to his loyal followers that his wand and Harry's are like brothers, so he can never kill Harry with that wand. After Dumbledore's death, Voldemort's return to power is imminent. He not only infiltrates Hogwarts, but the Ministry of Magic as well. Instead of attending Hogwarts for their 7th and final year, Harry, Ron, and Hermione set out to finish the mission that Dumbledore started and embark on a journey to collect and destroy the rest of Voldemort's Horcruxes. They do find one Horcrux, a locket, but have a difficult time destroying it. Eventually, the sword of Godric Gryffindor appears to Harry in a lake, and Ron smashes the locket with it. As they gather more and more information, the symbol of the Deathly Hallows, which happens to be a children's story in the magical world, keeps appearing time and time again. The story tells of 3 brothers who procure magical gifts from death: the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak. Eventually, Voldemort's snatchers catch up to our 3 heroes and take them to the Malfoy residence, where they are to await the Dark Lord. Unfortunately, Dobby sacrifices himself to save Harry Potter, and the 3 escape, along with Ollivander the Wandmaker, a goblin from the bank, Gringotts, Luna Lovegood, their classmate, and the knowledge that Voldemort has stolen the all-powerful Elder Wand from Dumbledore's tomb in hopes of finally killing Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's a good summary of what goes on, and we definitely got to talk about that whole locket, because I'm having flashbacks to another epic film series is happening.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I can't help but feel like, Anna, that this story just sort of truncates and just stops in the middle of when it's just starting to get good.
Yes, it does. And like I've said before, the book is just like that. Everybody should, even if you've never read the book, you should know how thick this book is. It's thick. It's big. Her books just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and this is massive. And this is literally 75% of the book.
Really?
Yes. This movie is about 75% of the book. The book spends time, they are out in the woods for the majority, at least like the middle half of the book. They're out in the woods working on this one Horcrux the whole time. And the book portion of this was like Goblet of Fire, the movie. It was reversed, where the book Goblet of Fire kept me interested and kept moving and moving and moving. And the movie, I was like looking at the thing, oh God, when is this going to end? And this was the opposite with the book. I was like, okay, something's got to happen. Something's got to move the plot along. And nothing never did until we got to this part. And the movie, I thought, moved a whole lot better than the book. And I was when they said they were going to do 2 parts, I will admit I was a little skeptical, because this part of the book is so boring. The movie actually is a lot less boring than the book.
I will say that, though. I was never bored with this, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was never bored with this movie at all. But I think mainly because I was really trying to keep up with what in the heck was going on. I mean, having no relation to the source material at all, not knowing what what they were after and what was going on. Everything was a dark turn around another dark corner for me. So it really kept me engaged. Like I remember watching this and sitting there having to go back and rewatch parts of scenes, because I felt like I missed something along the way. They jam a lot in this movie, but they keep it going along the way. I sort of started thinking about how the difference between movies, if you've seen the Dan Brown adaptations from the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, if you've seen what Ron Howard did with those, he made a conscious effort in the second one of those, Angels and Demons, to take a lot of the exposition and have the Tom Hanks character walk around and talk the whole time. And it's not that way in the book. There's a lot of stopping and talking, but it kept everything moving. And I felt like that was the same decision made here, was we're going to get a lot of information out, but we're going to keep things moving. And I, for one, was glad to see that.
Yeah, and that might be the difference, because they spend a lot of time in the book in their tent talking and going over this and fighting and bickering.
Yes.
And they did a good job of keeping it moving, and I really was interested. And I will say, I've read the books and my husband hasn't. My husband's like you, he's just seen the movies, and he asked me a lot of questions, and especially in the last one, the next one, the part 2, he asked a lot, why they do that. And I'm like, you remember from okay, why they do that.
Yeah.
They do that. So I got that a lot. If you're not kind of a fanboy, it's very easy to get lost, I would think.
Oh, I totally agree. And I will say this now, this is a movie made for the fanboys of the series. Now, that said, there's a lot that they've cut out of it to make it streamlined and move. But there's almost too much movie homework here for somebody like me that sort of just casually watched this series through the years and has really only picked it up as we've done this retrospective. I've caught myself many times going, have we seen that before? Have we seen, just like the last movie, when I was going, who's Tom Riddle? And then finally remembering, what book that was from, what film that was from. So I felt like the same was going on here. Now, let's talk a little bit about our core 3, Harry, Ron, and Hermione. These kids that have grown up at this point. I mean, they really have grown up in front of us. And they all play so much older now than even they did, I think, in the last movie. I was really surprised by the jump. Like, I almost felt like it was more than, a year. Or, I mean, what's supposed to be the time distance between part 6 and this?
It's the same as every book, and it's the same as every book. It goes a school year.
Okay.
It starts because his birthday's in July, It starts like in July around his birthday, and then in August they're getting ready to go back to school. So it always starts in July around his birthday, and then they go back to school in August, and then it always ends when he's leaving Hogwarts in the spring to go back home for the summer.
Okay.
So this is the same thing. Dumbledore, and I don't think they make it clearer in the books. That's one thing the books do. They make it a lot clearer. I don't think they necessarily make it clearer in the movies. Like, it could very well be Christmas time for all you know. But in my friends who've read Twilight, this is a weird concept, who haven't read the Harry Potter but have read Twilight, and I'm thinking that if they're gonna go like one's her freshman year, her sophomore year, her junior, they're like, no, these 4 books are only like a year and a half, 2 years tops. I'm like, really? And but that's how it goes. It goes a school year. That's how you should look at it.
Okay, that makes sense, but it does. I mean, did you get that feeling too, though, that more time had passed than just the distance and the changing of a school year, the summer in between? Because I really felt like it had.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
But I've read the book, and I knew that.
Okay, well maybe it's just me, but I just felt like there was so much going on that I don't know. Maybe it's the material too. The characters are playing something that's much, much darker. And
said before the plot summary, they're playing out of their element. We've had this pattern of the Dursleys, Hogwarts, Christmas time, and then this, and they're playing out of the little sequence it's always normally in, and all the action takes place at Hogwarts. This is the first time the action has taken place outside of Hogwarts.
Right.
So it's a different setting. And also something I got at the very beginning of the movie is they kind of do this shot of, like, I noticed it for Ron because he's a lot bigger than Harry, maybe is why, but it's like this panning shot. He's out in I noticed it from Hermione. Let me back up a second. I noticed it with Hermione because remember, she's taking the memories of her parents away.
Right. Which is really kind of sad.
Yeah, and that scene was really good because it was really moving, and how they saw her disappear from the pictures, and
yeah.
It's like, to me, it's like, that summer, usually it's between your junior and senior year where you come back like a totally different person. Like, maybe if you're a guy, you've grown and you're tall, or you've bulked up and lifted weights, and if you're a girl, maybe you've grown up and kind of lost maybe some baby fat or something, and you come back, or you got your braces off, or you got contacts or something. To me, that is that summer where you come back and you're a whole different person. Something happened,
yeah,
and just totally changed you, and I think that's what this is. And they're making that conscious decision by Hermione obliterating her parents' memories of her, that she is committed to this, and then Ron's like standing out in the field by the burrow, and to me it's just like that, showing how they changed. So it makes sense that they would have kind of a physical change.
Well, they're the only ones that know they're not going back to Hogwarts, right? They've kind of made that pact that they're going to go and destroy the Horcruxes, and they're taking that upon themselves because they know there's nothing to go back to. Yeah, because Hogwarts is overrun, and so they know that, and so. But, again, these 3 get trapped together in a lot of tight spaces, and they have to sort of deal with their feelings and all that. And part of that is brought about by one of the Horcruxes, which is the locket that they get. And I mentioned earlier on that I was going to allude to the flashbacks I was having to Lord of the Rings. That, whoever was wearing this thing at the time, it started to affect you adversely. Now, did you get that off of this? Because I was having precious flashbacks.
No, because I hate Lord of the Rings, and my husband drugged me to the second movie, and I didn't get it. I was totally lost, and I'm like, I don't really care. I didn't care about the first one. I don't care about this one, and I sure as heck don't care about the second one. So I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm more likely to get a Star Wars analogy, and I'm not even a real big Star Wars fan.
It's not so much that I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm just telling you, I remember that from those 3 very long, very drawn out movies. And part of it is that the ring that they're carrying across the woods to destroy has an adverse effect on you. It makes you incredibly paranoid. And this particularly works for Ron. because finally they lay it all out on the table, and he's got to find out, do these two have feelings for each other? Because as if it wasn't obvious enough, that they don't, we now got to call it out. And I almost felt like that was unnecessary. Did you think that was purposeful at all?
No, not really, but it's because I've read, in addition to reading the books, I've read like the Ultimate Guide to Harry Potter, where they dissect everything she writes. And I read that, but it was only for the first 5 books. I didn't get it for the other 2. But they dissect what she writes, and it's quite obvious Harry and Hermione they think of each other like brother and sister. They have no romantic feelings for each other whatsoever. And if you read that and read what they dissect, it totally makes sense.
But isn't that the trope, right? That the best friend who has the girl that you're also friends with, he's always paranoid that you're going to take her away or something. Yeah,
but I think it's playing on, like, when the whatever it was came out of the locket.
Yeah.
I think it's playing on Ron's insecurities.
Yeah, obviously.
And even though he may not seem like it, those insecurities are in the back of his mind.
Well, now that's half of Ron's character, though, is his insecurity, right? That's half of what makes him who he is.
Yeah.
He's so self-conscious about everything,
Yeah, he
is. And this is just exacerbated by the fact that all this is doing is bringing out these moments where it's the evil trying to break up what it knows can destroy it, right? You always try to drive a wedge, between the dream team that's coming after you. And it would make sense that part of Voldemort's soul would attempt to do that, would try to break these 3 up because it knows how powerful they can be together.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never really thought of it that way, though.
I don't know. I don't know if that's in the book, if it's stated at all. It's just how I read it. And it makes no more sense. And then, of course, they're able to destroy it with the whole sword in the lake thing. That was really funny. I was having Excalibur flashbacks the whole way. But that's okay, because I think I've called out like everything that I think Harry Potter is borrowing from along the way, and that's fine. Good stories always borrow from other good stories. That's
true.
That's part of it.
On the scene at the lake, it's just, I guess this is how I see it, that they have never given any inclination that Harry and Hermione are romantically linked. They're always been just friends. It's always been platonic. So seeing them like making out naked was just so weird to me.
Yeah, that was I'm gonna tell you, there was a lot of sexually charged material in this film. I was sort of surprised they went there.
Yeah, but you got to understand, and you work with kids you've worked with kids this age. At this point, they're 17, 18 years old.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're totally American Pie right now. That's
Yeah, so this stuff's tame for America.
Yeah,
same age as the kids were supposed to be in American Pie.
Yeah,
so.
It is. It's the same kind of stuff. We talk about it, Brian and I often talk about it on The Art of Slaying, the Buffy podcast. Right now we're in the middle of their senior year of high school, and sex is a huge theme on that show, and always has been, and it really is that year in particular. There's a lot of sexual tension and a lot of even sexual politics thrown in there. So yeah, but it was weird to see them cuddling together. Yeah, I'm with you. That was really kind of, I didn't expect that. It's another one of those things that just sort of made you jump in this movie.
Yeah, I can see Harry and Ginny making out. I can see Ron and Hermione hanging out. But for something, I don't know if they've maybe done a good job of reinforcing what from the books, that Harry and Hermione are just friends, nothing more, nothing less. And they really think of each other like a brother and sister more than romantic. So maybe looking back, the movies had done a good job of that. But it's just, looking at them was just so weird. I could see it. I don't think it would be as weird if it was the same scene in the same amount of clothes with Harry and Ginny. I don't think it'd be as weird if it was Ron and Hermione. But just those two together, something's just...
Well, it's supposed to seem off, and I think that's the point, is to let us know this isn't real. This is just, again, the projection of Ron's insecurities, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of it. So if it feels uncomfortable, that's because it's working as a plot device.
Going back to Ron's insecurities and taking Harry and taking Ron has had Ron grew up with a loving family, and he grew up with his parents, who from the movies and the books just seemed like like a typical mother and father. He grew up with his siblings. He had lots of siblings. And then Harry grew up with these, his parents died when he was young, these god awful aunt and uncle who just absolutely hated him. And I'm just, as you're saying this about the insecurities, I'm just like, what does Ron have to be insecure about? He has a family that loves him and will be there for him no matter.
This is simple. I'm glad you asked that. Ron is insecure because Ron is not special in any way at all.
Okay.
He's not special. Hermione is the smart one. Too smart almost, right?
Yeah.
Harry is this, the one, the chosen one, whatever, bring balance to the Force kid, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, he's the leader.
Ron is another one in a family of, wizards and witches. And he's just doing what he's supposed to do. There's nothing special about him other than the fact that he's friends with the smartest person that he knows and the bravest person that he knows.
Okay.
So that's Ron's insecurities based on the fact that he doesn't have anything that makes him special. He's every man. In that way, Ron's supposed to be our eyes into this world. The way the movies have gone, though, he's had, he's getting a lot of character development now. There's about 2 movies in the middle where Ron got nothing. And so that doesn't always work as an avatar for us, but that's who he's supposed to be. Well, let's talk about this whole, quest that they're on and where it ultimately leads them. Malfoy Manor. Now, what did you make of the Malfoys?
Oh, I so wanted to call you out on the last podcast, but not. I think this is what I get from the Malfoys. And I kind of alluded to this, I think, on the last podcast. I got that, they are like Draco. They talk about, how he was going to kill Dumbledore.
Right.
He was going to kill Dumbledore. The Dark Lord commissioned him to kill Dumbledore. They talk a big game, but I think when it comes down to the nitty gritty, that they're just a bunch of cowards and they're selfish. And I really think Baltimore sees that too.
Oh, I think you're dead on too. What I had said last time was it was nice to have him do something besides just get in a few quips where Draco was actually a part of the whole story and stuff. Now, he wasn't terribly effective under any means, and he's not so much in this either. But it was nice to get him more than just sort of being a pain in the neck. But I'm with you. I think you're dead on too. Voldemort sees through these people. He knows how weak they are.
Yeah.
Or else why would he surround himself with all these others? He's got backup plans. Because go ahead.
I also think, how scary, I don't want to say scary, but in the second movies, they were tough, they were intimidating. I think they're the type of people that go to whatever side they think is going to win, and when they went to the Death Eater side, they just kind of gambled wrong, and now that he's and they thought he'd never return, and now that he's back and he can see through them, that's what I got from it.
Oh, totally. I mean, they're dispatched with in an easy way, unlike a lot of other things that the three have had to go through in this. What do you think of Dobby's sacrifice to get everybody to allow everybody to escape?
Well, I think that was appropriate. And, I just thought of this. But remember in the second movie, I think it is, when Harry, at the very end, when Harry frees Dobby, so to speak, by giving him clothing and makes it look like the Malfoys did it because he's their house elf. And Harry says something like, "Promise never to save my life again." And now he saved Harry Potter. He saved Harry Potter's life by sacrificing himself.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I thought, is he really dead? Is he really dead? And I was like, oh wow, he's really dead.
Yeah,
that was pretty dark.
Dead.
Yeah, that was pretty dark. And I was like, wow.
I know, but you can look. I think the computer animation got way better between the second movie and here. It even made Dobby less annoying.
Oh, by far. I mean, he's on the screen list too. But that's part of it. But yeah, I mean, he had a purpose here that was interesting and stuff. What do you think about the way it ended, though? They kind of we leave it here where everything's hanging now, and what's to come. And you said it before. This is 75% of the last book. I'm curious if they're going to be able to stretch that much into the next movie. I was wondering what's coming. So
they are. I mean, and one thing this did was this got me excited I really, having read the book, really got excited for the last movie because I know what's going to happen. And this is the point, like I said in the book earlier, where stuff happens. You finally figure out what that stupid symbol is, and you finally destroy a Horcrux, and they start looking. And they spent 50% of the book on this one or more on this one stupid Horcrux. And then, it's like in 7, they did 2 kind of in the 6th book because they had the diary and the ring. And then this one has the locket. And then, so they've got 4 more to go.
Right.
Let me count real quick without giving too much away. Yes, they've got 4. They have 4 to go in the next movie. So and another thing, like I said, I was skeptical about this movie, and I did not know where they were going to end it. So I was like, there's no good place, especially in the middle, to end it. Because like I said, the middle, they're going from forest to forest to forest, trying to figure out how to destroy that Horcrux or find another one. And so I think they did I was really impressed with how they did it and how it moved, how the action kept going and how it moved, and it wasn't them just sitting there in the tent talking all the time.
Right. At least it went somewhere, right? That's the whole point. So, and we're at the part of the podcast where we give our popcorn rating for the film. So what's your popcorn rating for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1?
I give it a large popcorn because it made me excited to see the second one, and you have to see it. You can't not... I guess technically you could, but really you can't not see it. It's not a standalone. It's not even like The Order of the Phoenix, or like we've said from day one, Prisoner of Azkaban could be a standalone movie. It's not like that. You've got to see it. It's part 1 of 2. So you have to see it. I think it's very much a thank you card to the fans and stuff. I think if you haven't read the books, you're going to be a little confused. So if you didn't read the books, you probably might not agree with the large popcorn, but if you've read the books, I think it's good. It gets you excited for the second movie or the last movie, and you're just, and I hope they don't disappoint.
Well, I'm with you. I think this is large popcorn territory all the way. It was fun. It kept moving. Again, I think if you know all the book material and everything, this is the payoff for a lot of it for you, and you can work your way through it. But if you're not, you just watch the films like me, it keeps you engaged. And I think it was a real fun, ride. It was a very dark turn, and I'm not so sure that wasn't a good thing. I think it was time to grow up a little bit here with the series, and I think they've done exactly that. So I was excited about it too. I'm with you. It's large popcorn, and it's must see. You got to see it before you see part 2. That would be pointless if they didn't leave so much in here that you needed to be able to carry forward. Well, folks, we're almost at the end of our Harry Potter retrospective series. So until next time, for Anna, I'm Jay. Thanks for tuning in to Film Strip on Continuous Play.
Thank you for joining us in this chapter of Continuous Play's Harry Potter series retrospective. We will be reviewing each of the Harry Potter films this fall up until the release of the first part of the series finale, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Check out our website, www.continuousplaypodcast.com, each week for a new release in the series, and email feedback to us at mailbag@continuousplaypodcast.com.